Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 1, Traveled Through. Chapter 1 Time Travel. In the early spring, it was the season with many thunderstorms. Last night, a heavy rain was baptized all night after the Ueha village. It was supposed to be a good time, but Gu Panxia only felt a headache. She sat on the kong, staring at the thatched hut where rain was still dripping above her head. She looked at the little bun who was looking at her pitifully, and couldn't help but sigh. She just worked overtime for 2 consecutive days without any sleep. Because she was too tired, she lay down in the office and slept for a while. How could she wake up and travel through time? I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but this girl has the same name as her, Gu Panxia, and she also has a 5-year-old younger brother named Baozi. Her parents died young, and her grandparents ignored them and left them to fend for themselves. Her uncle and aunt often came to hang out, and every time they came, even the unpalatable wild vegetables would be swept away. Gu Panxia only felt that this family was really the best. Didn't this push the siblings to a dead end? At any rate, it's just a relative, so it's okay not to help, and it's really inhumane to have to catch up and make up for it. Sister, don't be sad, Aunt Lu said, you are a good girl and you will find a better one in the future. The little guy stretched out his bony hands and held her hand, giving her a soft comfort. Don't worry Pandong, sister is fine. Gu Panxia rubbed the little bun's head, and couldn't help but sigh again when he saw that his own hands were also only skin and bones. Not only did this house leak, it didn't even have a decent pot. The water tank at the door only had its bottom half, and only half of the bowl was left. There wasn't even a grain of rice in the rice tank. She was at least able to survive in the most difficult times. If they can only afford a bucket of instant noodles, this family is extremely poor. Sister, today Aunt Lu brought you half a bowl of chicken soup, saying it was for your health. Aunt Lu also said that Yang Ping is a big with a human face and a cruel heart, so I asked my sister not to seek death for him. As the little bun was talking, his mouth flattened and he was about to cry. Don't cry, Pandong. My sister will never be stupid again. She still has to make a lot of money to buy meat for Pandong. Really? Little Baozi raised his eyes filled with moisture and looked at her very carefully. Really, my sister swears that she will never seek death again. This original owner is really evil. She is willing to leave such a little Baozi behind. If she dies, it will be a disaster. Little Baozi has to be alone at a young age. How cruel is this? To throw yourself into a river for the sake of a heartless man who hates poverty and loves wealth is as stupid as the Pacific Ocean. The father of the original owner was a hunter. He lived a good life in his early years. Not only did he live in a small tile-roofed house, but he also had 3 meals a day. Yang Shan, the head of the Yang family, and Gu Dahai have been good brothers since childhood, and they decided to marry the children of the 2 families. But 3 years ago, Gu Dahai and his wife Zhou went hunting in the mountains and accidentally encountered a mudslide, and both of them were buried directly in the mountains. Since then, Gu Panxia's uncle and aunt have kicked the 2 siblings out of the tile-roofed house and occupied it. Her grandparents also moved in without saying a word. As soon as the Yang family saw that Gu Dahai and Zhou were dead, and that the Gu Panxia siblings were so cowardly, they felt unhappy and always tried their best to cancel the marriage. Finally, a year ago, Yang Ping was attracted by the young lady from the county magistrate's family, who wanted to marry him. Yang Ping was one of the few scholars in the village. He was pregnant with a boy child when he was only 13 years old. He was so handsome that it was normal for the county magistrate's daughter to fall in love with him. But the original owner didn't think so. She always felt that Yang Ping was her fiancé and her only way out. For so many years, she had put all her expectations on Yang Ping, but she didn't expect that in the end, she got a divorce document. She was heartbroken for a moment, feeling that the sky was falling and the world was ruined, so she just threw herself into the marriage. Moon River. By the time he was fished out, there was already a lot of air coming out and little air coming in. This is how Gu Panxia is now. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 2, Gu Panxia is evil. Chapter 2 Looking at Xia Zhongxie. Sister, I'm going to bring you chicken soup. After the little bun finished speaking, before Gu Panxia could say anything, he ran out slowly. What are you doing? Aunt Lu gave it to my sister to replenish her body, you can't drink it. What are you doing to replenish your sister's body? Your sister is just a who has been abandoned by others. Does a little deserve to drink chicken soup? Gu Panxia, who was sitting in the house, frowned when he heard the sound. This sound was heard almost every day in the memory of the original owner. Who else could it be if that wasn't her good cousin Gu Pantao? You are talking nonsense. My sister is a good person, but you are a bitch. Give me back the chicken soup. Little Baozi scolded him back. Get out of my way. As Gu Pantao said these words, the cry of little Baozi suddenly came from outside the house. Gu Panxia's eyes turned cold, and he forgot about his still weak body. He stood up from the Kong suddenly, picked up the broom beside him and strode out quickly. Elder sister. Little Baozi's eyes turned red from crying and he hid behind her pitifully. Hey, isn't this the little who was just abandoned? Isn't it said that he is already half dead? Gu Panxia looked at her coldly, but couldn't help but sigh inwardly. How old is this child? He is only 8 or 9 years old. He is so good at swearing. You don't need to think about it. He must be influenced by his mother. What are you looking at? Gu Pantao was a little panicked by her eyes. She felt that something was wrong with Gu Panxia today. In the past, whenever she came, Gu Panxia would just hide aside and cry. He never dared to look at her like this. Give me back the chicken soup. Gu Panxia stretched out her hand, her tone as cold as the cold wind on a winter night. Gu Pantao hid the bowl behind her back, don't even think about it. She has been here so many times and finally found a delicious meal. How could she go back? I said, give me back the chicken soup. Gu Panxia's voice suddenly rose a little higher. Gu Pantao's hand shook, and a few drops of chicken soup splashed onto her hand. Fortunately, the chicken soup was warm and could not burn her. She rolled her eyes, suddenly put the chicken soup in front of her, said ba ba twice, and then looked at Gu Panxia proudly. Gu Panxia's face turned dark instantly, feeling that this man was extremely disgusting. You want to drink chicken soup? I'll let you drink it. I'll let you drink as much as you can. Before Gu Pantao could react, the bowl in her hand had already been snatched away by Gu Panxia. What are you doing? Give me back the chicken soup. Gu Pantao was furious. She felt that Gu Panxia was evil today. Otherwise, why would he suddenly dare to disobey her? Drink, I'll give you a drink. Gu Panxia raised her hand and poured the chicken soup directly onto Gu Pantao's hair. Gu Pantao was dumbfounded. She didn't expect that Gu Panxia would dare to do this. Does the chicken soup taste good? The corner of Gu Panxia's mouth curled up, with a faint light shining in his eyes. Ah, Gu Panxia, you are looking for death. Gu Pantao came back to his senses, wiped the chicken soup from his face, his eyes were red with anger, and he screamed and rushed towards Gu Panxia. Gu Panxia nimbly dodged away, raised the broom in her hand, and greeted Gu Pantao's butt. I let you bully 2 siblings, and I let you grab chicken soup. She hit her every time she said a word, and Gu Pantao screamed in pain while hugging her buttocks. Woo hoo hoo, Gu Panxia, just wait for me and I'll let my mother take care of you. Gu Pantao ran outside the fence and pointed at Gu Panxia to warn him while crying. Gu Panxia Lu raised her eyebrows and said with an evil smile, okay, I'll wait, you ask her to come. Just in time to clean up together. You, everyone, come quickly. Gu Panxia is evil. Gu Pantao was so frightened that she ran away with her head in her hands, shouting and yelling as she ran. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 3, Looking Forward to Summer Envoy Plan. Chapter 3 Hope for Summer Envoy Plan. Sister became more powerful and finally drove away the bad guys. Little Baozi exclaimed and screamed excitedly. Gu Panxia coughed guiltily, why did his sister become so powerful? He has obviously changed into a powerful sister. Gu Panxia put the broom away, reached out and rubbed the little bun's head and said, don't worry Pandong, no one will dare to bully us again. When she was in college, she signed up for Taekwondo and practiced for 4 consecutive years. Naturally, she won the second degree of the underworld for nothing. Although his current body is too weak, it is still more than enough to deal with an evil woman like Mrs. Zhang. "Sister, your chicken soup is gone." Little Baozi looked at the empty bowl in her hand with a look of regret. Gu Panxia also felt regretful. She originally wanted to give little Baozi a drink, but Aunt Lu's efforts were in vain. Aunt Lu is a peasant woman who lives next door to them. She used to have the best relationship with Mrs. Zhou before she passed away. If it hadn't been for her help in recent years, the brother and sister would have starved to death long ago. As the saying goes, distant relatives are not as good as close neighbors. Gu Panxia's grandmother's family is willing to help, but because the two villages are too far apart, they can only visit once a month. Originally, her grandmother wanted to take the two siblings there with her, but it turned out that Gu Panxia was thinking about Yangping and was unwilling to leave Yuehe village no matter what. Gu Panxia only felt that the original owner was seeking death, so she could do it alone, and she had to bring a little bun to do it with her. As far as she knew, the original owner's grandmother's family was a tofu seller, and the family's life was pretty good. In this small village where poverty was common, it was considered semi-well off. If she agrees to go over, I'm afraid she won't be so thin that she looks like an alien. When the chicken soup is gone, it's gone. When my sister makes money next time, she'll buy a whole chicken and stew it for Pandong to eat. In her previous life, her parents had divorced since she was 13 years old, and they each had their own families. She had never seen them except for the monthly living expenses they paid into her card. Now, she has nothing to worry about. It's just a change of time and space. At least now she still has a little bun to keep her company. It doesn't matter if you live in poverty, as long as you work hard, you will eventually live a good life. Is what sister said true? Can sister really make money to buy meat for Pandong? Little Baozi swallowed his saliva, his face full of anticipation. Gu Panxia's heart felt a little sour. From the memory of the original owner, every time her grandmother's house or Aunt Lu brought meat, it would be taken away by her good cousin or aunt. The two siblings couldn't even get their hands on the minced meat. Really, when my sister gets better, she will think of ways to make money and buy meat for Pandong to eat. In previous lives, meat was almost a must-have dish for every meal, but here it has become a luxury. Okay. When my sister makes money, Pandong will eat meat every day. Gu Panxia smiled bitterly, okay. From now on, sister will buy meat for Pandong to eat every day. Sister will take the bowl back and give it back to Aunt Lu first. Pandong is home alone, so he is not allowed to run around. Do you understand? Little Baozi nodded obediently. Pandong knows. Gu Panxia nodded, walked out of the yard with the bowl, and walked to the next door according to the memory of the original owner. It is already dusk now, and occasionally there are a few villagers on the road leading their cattle and hoes back. Hey, isn't this the eldest girl of the Gu family? Didn't she commit suicide by throwing herself into the Moon River? A woman with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks spotted Gu Panxia with sharp eyes and suddenly laughed out loud. She knew that woman. She was Aunt Zhao, who lived at the end of the village and was the most talkative in Yuehe village. Hearing this, the women who were with her also started pointing at Panxia. Gu Panxia's eyes turned cold, but he pretended to be weak and looked at the woman. What did Aunt Zhao say? Panxia just accidentally fell in when she went to fetch water. Why did she say she jumped into the river and committed suicide? It turns out that I accidentally fell in. I thought it was because the Yang family didn't want you, and you just couldn't think about it, and so you threw yourself into the river. Her words were obviously filled with disbelief, with an expression like "you can't fool me." Gu Panxia pretended to be on the verge of tears, looking like he had been greatly wronged. If my aunt thinks so, Panxia can't say anything. Then the Yang family cancelled the marriage for the sake of wealth. Panxia understands why Panxia doesn't have a father who is a county magistrate. But Panxia is also a sensible person. Such suspicions the poor love the rich, how can Panxia seek death for them? After Gu Panxia finished speaking, he wiped away the non-existent tears with his hands, turned around and walked away. No one noticed that the moment she turned around, there was a treacherous sneer on her lips. She believes that starting tomorrow, the Yang family's dislike of poverty and love of wealth will soon spread throughout Ueha village. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 4, The Best Auntie Comes to Your Door. Chapter 4 The Best Aunt Comes to Visit. Panxia, why are you here? Aunt Lu was a little surprised to see her come to deliver the bowl in person. You know, before today, Gu Panxia didn't even have the strength to get up. Looking at Xia Yanran, she smiled and said, Aunt Lu, I'm here to deliver a bowl. Thank you for the chicken soup. Aunt Lu was surprised and looked at her with inquiring eyes, as if she wanted to find something strange in her. It's good that you're fine. If you still want to drink, my aunt still has some in the pot. Your uncle went to the village to drink, but there was no one to drink. No, I've already drank it. Thank you Aunt Lu, I'll return the bowl to you, and I'll go back first. I'm not worried about Pandong being alone at home. Oh okay. Then you should go back early and be careful on the road. Aunt Lu took the bowl and gave a few more kind words. Gu Panxia smiled and nodded, then I'm leaving. After she said that, she turned and left. How come this child is no longer the same as before? Aunt Lu looked at her back and murmured in confusion. Gu Panxia used to be very reserved when he saw her. Not to mention joking, he even spoke in a submissive manner, as if he couldn't let go. Today she smiled to herself and said so many things. The most important thing is that she was a little less cowardly than before, and a little more generous. Could this child have figured it out? As soon as Gu Panxia walked through the door, he heard a sharp female voice behind him. You little bitch, broom star, you wasteful thing, you even poured out the chicken soup. Gu Panxia turned around, with a slight curl in the corner of his mouth, and said, I wonder what auntie is here for. Is it because of my cousin's visit to investigate the crime, or for the bowl of chicken soup that was poured out? Originally, Ms. Zhang didn't believe her daughter when she heard that Gu Panxia was possessed by evil spirits. But now when she saw Gu Panxia's fearless expression, she couldn't help but believe it. You, what kind of monster are you? Why don't you show up soon? Zhang shook her finger, pointed at Gu Panxia and drank loudly. Gu Panxia just felt a little want to laugh. Her soul traveled through another world and possessed the original owner. Isn't it a ghost? It's just, it might be difficult for her to show up. She is not a goblin, she will show up when she is told. She raised her eyebrows and said with an innocent expression, what did auntie say? If I were a ghost, the first person I would not let go would definitely be you, mother and daughter. When the two of them heard this, they immediately took a few steps back. You dare. Gu Panxia spread her hands and said, do I dare? You will know if you try it. This family, if you don't give them some clues, they really don't know what fear is. Gu Pantao pointed at her and said, don't be arrogant. When we tell the villagers, they will burn you little alive. He is a newborn calf after all, he doesn't even understand what a tiger is. Gu Panxia is not a kind-hearted person to begin with. This mother and daughter only bullied the former Gu Panxia. They want to bully her. I don't even look at how much I weigh. She shrugged indifferently and said calmly, okay. You can go ahead, I'll be waiting. The bad character of this family is probably unknown to everyone in the village, right? I'm afraid it's a bit difficult to get the villagers to believe what they say. Who doesn't know that they often bully the two siblings Gu Panxia? It would be okay if they didn't tell them, but if they did tell them, everyone would just say that this family would not even spare their two poor children, and would even make up such unrealistic lies in order to get rid of them. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 5, Teach the Best Aunt a Lesson, 1. Chapter 5, Teaching the Best Aunt, 1. Little bitch, no, you monster, just wait. Ms. Zhang glared at Gu Panxia fiercely, and suddenly shouted at the top of her lungs, come here, come quickly, there are monsters here, and they are going to harm Ueha village. Gu Pantao was not idle either, and shouted together with her mother, everyone, come and see, Gu Panxia is evil. Gu Panxia leaned in front of the small wooden door and watched the two people who were shouting with interest. At this time, although it is not yet dark, everyone has almost finished eating and is ready to wash up and go to bed. After all, this is ancient times and it is in the countryside. In order to save oil lamps, the villagers naturally have to go to bed early. Ouch, Gu Lauer's family, what are the ghosts yelling and screaming at this night? After a while, except for the villagers at the head of the village, almost all the villagers nearby heard the sound and came. Gu Panxia hurriedly straightened up, lowered his head and remained silent, as if he had been wronged. A group of people saw this scene as soon as they arrived, and almost everyone frowned. Unfortunately, the mother and daughter didn't realize anything yet. They looked at Gu Panxia with great pride and said, "Little bitch, didn't you just say you were waiting for the villagers to burn you? Why aren't you talking now?" As soon as this little spoke, someone came to fight and said, "Ms. Zhang, you are considered a member of the Gu family when you marry into the Gu family. It's okay if you don't want to see this sister-in-law's child. Why do you always come to the door again and again? Insulting. She is a little bitch, so what are your in-laws and husband? Big bitches? That's it, don't think that you haven't seen it on weekdays. We just think it's your old Gu family's business, so we don't want to take care of it. Who knew you were going so far? No, these two good children were tortured like this by you. You bullied them into having no father and mother. You took over their house and drove them into this shabby hut. It's really a crime." Gu Panxia listened and watched carefully, and couldn't help feeling grateful. Among these women, the first one to speak was Aunt Lu, and the others were aunts who had good relations with Aunt Lu. Zhang's face turned green and white after hearing this. Her original intention was to let everyone catch monsters, but how come in the end, the target of everyone's attack turned out to be herself? "No, you, I asked you to catch monsters. This little bitch, she is possessed. Where did the monster come from? Don't just talk nonsense. How does this good man look like he's possessed by evil spirits?" As soon as Aunt Lu finished speaking, Gu Panxia choked up and said, "Thank you uncles and aunts for speaking up for Pan Xia." Pan Xia didn't know what was going on with Auntie. As soon as she came, she pointed at Pan Xia and said Pan Xia was a ghost, and called her "I hope Xia will show up soon." She paused for a moment and then said, "Pan Xia is Pan Xia, so when she shows up, isn't she still Pan Xia? Why does Auntie want Pan Xia to show up?" Her childish words made everyone burst into laughter. A middle-aged man joked, "Good boy, you are the one who is possessed by the evil spirit. It is obviously this woman who was possessed by the evil spirit herself and came to your place to cause mischief." Zhang almost choked out her breath. She never expected that Gu Panxia, who had been so tough just now looked like a little daughter-in-law who was being bullied. "You, don't be deceived by this girl, she was clearly not like this just now." Gu Panxia's lips curled up almost inaudibly, but soon returned to her pitiful look. She couldn't help but secretly sigh. It turned out that she also had the potential to pretend to be a white lotus. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 6, Teach the Best Auntie a Lesson, 2. Chapter 6, Teaching the Best Aunt, 2. I believe everyone in the Young family is aware of the fact that the Young family came to break off the engagement today, right? Everyone nodded. This kind of thing is a big deal in rural areas. Moreover, if a girl's engagement is broken off, her reputation will be damaged, and she may not be able to get married. Then the Young family broke off the engagement and then broke off the engagement. Auntie came over after the Young family broke off the engagement. Pan Xia didn't expect her to comfort Pan Xia. Unexpectedly, she came over and said. At this point, Gu Panxia's head lowered a little, and his voice was a little trembling. She actually said that Pan Xia had been abandoned and that if it had been her, she would have died a long time ago. She blamed Pan Xia for being a prodigal and not even accepting the 10 taels of silver as compensation from the Young family. At this point, she sobbed twice, but as far as Pan Xia is concerned, those 10 taels of silver are a shame. How could Pan Xia accept it? Ms. Zhang was dumbfounded. She had been here this morning and had told Gu Panxia to die, but she really didn't know anything about the silver. If she knew about it, she would go to the Young family to beg for it no matter how shameless she was. You little bitch, you learned to lie at a young age, let's see if I don't beat you to death. Mrs. Zhang came back to her senses and was immediately furious. Her fat body was about to pounce on her, but Gu Panxia seemed to be frightened and stood there blankly. "Oh, that's okay, you can do this kind of thing in front of us." Nearly all the women, led by Aunt Lu, surrounded Ms. Zhang and pulled Ms. Zhang back. I don't know whether they did it intentionally or not, but they reached out and pulled Zhang's hair from time to time, and some even scratched Zhang's face. Zhang screamed in pain, but the women had no intention of letting her go. Gu Pantao on the side was already frightened. She never expected that Gu Panxia's few words would win over the hearts of the villagers whom the mother and daughter had tried so hard to call. "Oh, oh, oh, you guys who are seeking death, how dare you treat me like this?" Zhang was so angry that his true nature was exposed, he yelled and cursed, and those people finally let go. When one of the women saw the scratches on Zhang's face, she pretended to be surprised and said, "Oh, how could this happen? I'm really sorry. We wanted to break up the fight, but we were in a hurry just now and we don't know where we scratched." Hearing this, Gu Panxia almost laughed out loud. Awesome, so awesome. She was pretending to be innocent. She really wanted to give that ant 32 likes. Ms. Zhang was sitting on the ground crying with snot and tears. Unfortunately, no one had the intention to step forward and pull her up. Mom, are you okay?" Gu Pantao came back to her senses, looked at Mrs. Zhang on the ground in horror, and hurriedly went to help her up. But after all, Gu Pantao is small and has limited physical strength. How can she lift Zhang, who weighs nearly 160 kilograms? "I think it's getting late. Everyone has things to do tomorrow morning, so let's all disperse." As soon as Aunt Lu said this, the rest of the theatergoers left muttering, and all they cursed were Zhang's words. "Thank you Aunt Lu for saying kind words for Panxia, Panxia is very grateful." Seeing that everyone had dispersed, Gu Panxia no longer pretended to be pitiful. Aunt Lu chuckled and patted the back of her hand affectionately, "You girl, you are getting smarter and smarter. Gu Panxia, you little who is deceiving others, wait for me." Zhang finally got up from the ground and pointed at Gu Panxia as a warning. Looking at Xia Yanran, she smiled and said, "Okay, I'm waiting. When will Auntie come? Do you need me to prepare food?" Mrs. Zhang believed it to be true, thinking that Gu Panxia was afraid of her and wanted to please her, so she raised her face and pointed her nostrils to the sky, "Assuming you have a conscience, let's do it tomorrow." After saying that, he left with Gu Pantao. Gu Panxia was dumbfounded, and suddenly felt a little bit dumbfounded. Want her to prepare meals for her? Go ahead and dream about her spring and autumn dreams. It's better to prepare a beating for her. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 7, Shocking Space, 1. Chapter 7 The Surprise Appearance of Space, 1. After sending Aunt Lu away, Gu Panxia returned to the house, only to find that the little bun had been rolled up and sleeping in a ball on the Kong. Gu Panxia couldn't help but chuckle. No wonder no one came out despite the huge movement just now. It turned out he was asleep. She covered the little bun with the quilt, touched his head again, and then sighed softly. Today is only the first day, and she has already sighed so many times. Her soul age is obviously only 24 years old, but after coming here, she seems to have aged a lot. She sat by the Kong, staring up at the hole in the roof, praying in her heart that it wouldn't rain again tonight, otherwise she was really worried that the house would suddenly collapse while she was sleeping. "Sister, it's great that you are still alive." Little Baozi's slightly confused voice came to his ears. Gu Panxia looked sideways and found that Little Baozi's eyes were still closed. The corners of his lips moved, revealing a bright smile in his sleep. Gu Panxia felt a little sad when she saw it. He was just a child after all, and he was afraid of being left behind even in his dreams. She didn't know what the original owner was thinking. If it were her, she would naturally not abandon her only relative for a man. I remember when I was in college, there was a senior who wanted to commit suicide by jumping off a building because of a senior. At that time, one of her female teachers said this, "If you commit suicide for a man, yes, please sell all the valuable organs in your body, and then give the money to your parents who have raised you for more than 10 or 20 years. You are the only one qualified to die. It is true that your parents worked hard to raise you, but you committed suicide for someone who failed you and deceived you. You really failed your parents' love and expectations for you. She has always been very open-minded. Even if her parents divorced without telling her, when she found out later, she would just smile and send her blessings. It would be a lie to say that you are not sad, but who can force two people who have no feelings to continue living together? That would only add to the troubles of three people. Looking at the dark room, Gupancha suddenly felt a little thirsty. She was groping for a glass of water, but without thinking, her right hand accidentally touched a sharp object and the palm of her hand was cut. She exclaimed and touched it with her left hand, only to find a wet spot. The strong smell of blood instantly filled the air. She frowned, followed her memory to the table, and lit the candle again. Only then did she realize that both hands were covered in red blood. She looked in the direction where she was just now, but there was nothing. She frowned slightly. Did she touch something dirty? The system contract is completed, would you like to start it? At this moment, a mechanical sound suddenly came to mind. Who? Gupancha was startled. She looked around with the faint candlelight, but found that there was nothing except her own shadow. I am 007 System Space. You are the 1800th trial user. Do you want to activate the space system? The voice suddenly sounded again, still cold and emotionless. Gupancha's eyes widened. System space. Could it be portable space? That's right, it's portable space. This is a benefit for travelers. You are the 1800th traveler. Do you want to activate the space system? Gupancha's heart was beating wildly after hearing this. Sure enough, those who travel through time must have weapons. God indeed favored her. Start up. She heard her impatient voice in a trance. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 8, Shocking Space, 2. Chapter 8 A Surprise Appearance in Space, 2. As she said, start, she felt the world spinning for a while. When she regained her composure, she had already appeared in a strange place. Hey, why can't you see it? There was white mist all around, and the sound of gurgling water could be heard in her ears, but she couldn't see clearly. This invisible space is different from the space she imagined. The current space is level 1, and the system will automatically unlock 3 pieces of land, a river, a cabin and a shopping mall for you. As the sound of the system fell, the white fog in front of her eyes instantly dissipated, and 3 small pieces of land, a river, a small wooden house and a shopping mall appeared in her eyes. Why does this place look familiar? No, isn't this similar to QQ Farm? Can the things grown here be taken out? It won't be the same as the farm, where you can only look at it but not eat it, right? Don't worry, you can take it out naturally. Gupancha felt relieved. That's good. The system has given you 1,000 gold coins, and you can buy the first level seeds you want to plant in the mall. Warm reminder, the gold coins in space can be used interchangeably with your real gold coins, but the exchange rate is 10:1, that is, 10 gold coins are equivalent to 1 penny in reality, and the money you earn in reality will be automatically exchanged by the system into gold coins. As the space level increases, more benefits and seeds will appear. If you don't understand anything, there is an instruction manual in the room. I wish you a happy journey and goodbye. As the sound of the system disappeared, Gupancha couldn't wait to run into the cabin. I saw a set of wooden furniture neatly arranged inside, and a book was lying quietly on the table in the middle. On the front of the book, there were 5 big words, Instruction Manual, written on it. Gupancha opened it and took a closer look, and saw that everything recorded inside was similar to the space farm he played in his previous life. What excites her most is that when the space reaches level 20, not only all the land in the space is unlocked, but also the pasture can be opened, and after reaching level 25, the space supermarket can be opened. Supermarket. Does that mean it has everything she wants to eat? So, as long as she works hard to reach level 25, she won't starve to death even if she lies down. Gupancha suddenly felt that all the depression and worries about the future all day long disappeared because of the appearance of space. She must work hard to upgrade the space quickly. Then, she and Little Bowsy will no longer have to live in a hole-in-the-wall hut. She wants Little Bowsy to live a life of eating meat every day. Come on Gu Panxiao. Work hard and move forward. Once this fighting spirit comes up, no one can stop it. She ran out of the house and walked into the mall. Welcome. Gu Panxiao looked at the person at the counter who was staring at her with a smile in shock. Why did she focus on the person? That's because it's not a real person, but a virtual person. What do you need to buy? Gu Panxiao calmed down his mood and said, hello. I want to buy first-class seeds. Hearing this, the virtual person waved his hand, and a large virtual screen appeared in front of Gu Panxiao's eyes. The first-level seeds marked above include Chinese cabbage, white radish and potato. They all cost 10 gold coins and have a maturity period of 3 minutes. Gu Panxiao was stunned. If she matured so quickly, how many times would she be able to take it back a day? There were only 3 pieces of land, and she couldn't plant that much. She bought all 3 types, 2 of each, spending a total of 60 gold coins, and planned to plant them in 2 batches. After planting the seeds, she felt a little sleepy, so after watering, she took a rest. Perhaps because he had some space in his hands, Gu Panxiao slept very peacefully. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 9, Beans Growing in the Soil. Chapter 9 Beans Growing in the Soil. Gu Panxiao was woken up by the crowing of roosters. She rubbed her eyes, but found little Baozi standing by the Kong, looking at her pitifully with a pair of watery eyes. Sister, I'm hungry. Gu Panxiao was stunned for a moment, and then she remembered that there was nothing to eat at home, not even wild vegetables. She suddenly remembered the vegetables she had grown in space yesterday. Pandong goes to play in the yard first, and my sister will cook something delicious for you later, okay? Good. In Xiao Baozi's mind, as long as it is edible, it is delicious. After watching the little bun go out, Gu Panxiao didn't have time to wash up, so he went straight into the space. She saw that what she planted last night was already growing on those 3 pieces of land. A green Chinese cabbage and the upper half of the white radish have been exposed from the ground. They are white and fat, a bit like ginseng, and the potatoes also have a few small lavender flowers. She pulled them all out and planted the extra seeds she bought yesterday. There are 3 potatoes, 1 cabbage, and 1 radish under the potato seedlings, which is just enough for today's meal. Congratulations on getting 600 points and 600 gold coins. You have 400 points left to advance to the 2nd level. Keep up the good work. Looking at Xia Yishi, I didn't expect to get 600 points so quickly. After growing just a few things and earning 600 points and gold coins, Gu Panxiao only felt that the ranch and supermarket were getting closer and closer to her. Afraid that little Baozi would wait too long, she didn't stay much longer, but took her things and walked out of the space. She walked out of the house and saw little Baozi pulling weeds in the yard from a distance. Gu Panxiao looked around and found that the land was actually not very small. If the seeds in the space could be brought out, she would like to plant vegetables around it. Since there was no oil, she cut the white radish into pieces for soup, and steamed 3 potatoes, leaving only 1 Chinese cabbage. Sister, this carrot soup is so delicious. Where did you get it? He had only eaten wild vegetables and chaff before, and had never drunk any radish soup. If you like to drink it, I hope my sister will make radish soup for you from time to time. This child had a hard life. He lost both his parents when he was only 2 years old. He was taken care of by his original owner all these years, and he hardly lived a good life. No wonder even such a clear carrot soup tastes good. Sister, I just saw you holding 3 round things. What are they? Can they be eaten? Little Baozi stared at the pot, with curiosity and expectation in his eyes. Of course you can eat it, that thing is called a potato. Gu Panxiao didn't know if there were potatoes in this place. Anyway, she had never seen them in the memory of the original owner. What are potatoes? Beans that grow from the soil. Gu Panxiao was a little embarrassed by what little Baozi said. This can also be said. Potatoes, aren't potatoes just beans that grow from the soil? Gu Panxiao couldn't help but nod as she drank the radish from the bowl. She originally thought that without salt and MSG as seasonings, the taste would be bad, but she didn't expect that the taste was still good. It was indeed produced by space, and she knew it was a high-quality product as soon as she tasted it. Sister, still drink. Little Bowsy ate some radish chunks with big mouthfuls, and drank the soup in the bowl in one gulp. Don't drink too much. You'll be too full and you won't be able to eat potatoes. Little Bowsy's eyes lit up. Sister, didn't you save the potatoes for dinner? No, you'll eat the potatoes when they're cooked, and there'll be some left in the evening. Little Bowsy's eyes suddenly lit up. He felt that not only had his sister become more powerful, but his cooking was also delicious. The most important thing was that his sister now had a lot of delicious food. End of this chapter. Portable Space, The Peasant Princess Chapter 10, Pay Back the Money or the Meat. Chapter 10 Pay Back the Money or the Meat. You little bitch, you don't even wait for me to make delicious food. Gu Panxia felt the door go dark. When she looked up, she saw Mrs. Zhang with her hands on her hips and looking at her angrily. Sister. Little Bowsy was so frightened that he hid behind Gu Panxia, not even daring to show his head. Gu Panxia put down the spoon and reached out to pat the little guy's back to express comfort. She raised her head to look at Mrs. Zhang and said in a calm voice, I wonder what business Auntie has here today. Zhang was a little angry. Didn't I ask you to prepare food for me to come to your door today? How dare you eat my food? Your things. Gu Panxia was very angry. She really didn't know what kind of skin this person's face was made of and why it was so thick. Auntie, if I remember correctly, the house you live in now belongs to me and Pandong, right? Also, what you take from me every month, not to mention anything else, is just the 5 kilograms of pork belly that my grandma brings every month. It takes a total of 3 years. In 12 months of this year, 5 kilograms a month, 60 kilograms a year, and a total of 80 kilograms in 3 years. This pork belly costs 17 cents per kilogram, multiplying 180 kilograms by 17, a total of 3,060 kilograms. I wonder if Auntie wants to pay back the meat or the money. The more Gu Panxia spoke, the colder her voice became. Ms. Zhang was frightened when she heard this, but she, who had always been domineering, still didn't know what danger was. Bah, you little bitch, you want to eat meat too? You don't even urinate and show yourself. Even you, a discarded piece of trash, dare to eat meat with others without fear of rotting your liver. When Gu Panxia heard this, he was not angry, but smiled. Auntie, thank you very much. A black-hearted person like you, who kicked out your nephew as soon as your brother and sister-in-law died, can't even rot your liver after eating meat. How can my liver rot? To be honest, she didn't expect Mr. Zhang to pay money or meat. After all, it was not only difficult to pick out the meat from Mr. Zhang's mouth, it was even more difficult. You little bitch, you have a rotten intestine, you dare to talk back, who gave you the courage? As Zhang said, she rolled up her sleeves and was about to step forward. Gu Panxia's eyes turned cold, she pulled up the bun and walked aside. Pandong finds a safe place to hide. Sister. Little Bowsy looked at her with worried eyes. Don't worry Pandong, sister will be fine. Just stand far away. Little Bowsy hesitated again and again, and finally nodded, Sister, be careful. In his impression, every time his sister was bullied by her aunt, she had never resisted, so he was ready to call someone at any time. He sneaked out of the yard, walked straight towards Aunt Lu's house on his short legs. Hey, what's going on? Do you still want to resist? Mrs. Zhang saw Gu Panxia suddenly make a strange move, which looked funny despite her thin body. Gu Panxia smiled faintly and did not reply. To be honest, Mrs. Zhang is her elder no matter what, and she doesn't want to go too far. But in recent years, Mrs. Zhang has not acted like an elder, so why should she respect her? For a person like Zhang who likes to be domineering, if she doesn't teach her a lesson, she really thinks that she will rule the world wherever she goes. Little bitch, you dare to provoke me, you really don't know how to live or die. Ms. Zhang glanced at her disdainfully, stretched her neck, and looked at the pot that was still burning on the stove, with a flash of greed in her eyes. She strode forward and reached out to open the lid of the pot, but her right hand was suddenly twisted back, causing her to scream in pain. Oh, you rotten thing, why don't you let go? Gu Panxia snorted coldly and pulled her right arm off with a strong pull. Ah, my hand is broken. Ms. Zhang felt that her right arm was weak, as if it was broken, hanging limply by her side. She was so frightened that she hugged her right arm and cried. End of this chapter.